retirees that live in Thailand unhappy and some of them go home? Stay tuned and I'll tell you why. JC and Nat here. I want to talk to you for a minute. I see a large percentage of people now moaning about what life is like in Thailand. I shouldn't say a large percentage because bad news sells. You're going to hear more about bad news than good news. But the funny thing, what I find interesting about the people that are complaining are those people live where? Where do you think those people live? Thailand. Yeah, they live in Thailand. And that wasn't set up either. It's just amazing. They live in Thailand, but they're the ones that are complaining about Thailand, about Thai people, about immigration, the government. They live there. They could go live somewhere else. So I wanted to address this, why people are unhappy. And one thing I'll start out with was anytime you feel emotional distress, no matter what it is, if you're not feeling happy and content and all the good feelings, is because you want life to be other than it is. The more you can become to accept what's in front of you, now you can have a preference. You can say, I'd rather have this than this, but if you get the one that you don't like, you have a couple of options that we'll talk about. But one is you can change the situation, or you can change yourself to deal with it. But the weird thing about this is, and it's just human behavior, I guess, is, and this has to do with everybody, with everything. Doesn't matter if it's your work, you're in a relationship with somebody, or whatever. When something's new, and you're excited, in a relationship, or your new job, or you come to Thailand, or Vietnam, or whatever, everything's new and exciting and everything. And then you start hearing the horns, or the dogs barking, or the notices. What happens is the novelty wears off. The newness wears off. And then instead of focusing on all the things that you loved and why you did something in the first place, you start looking at all the things you don't like. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you could say, oh, I love eating lobster. If I give you lobster every day, after a while it's going to become normal. It's not special anymore. And so that's what's happening with people that are coming to live in these countries. I see that they forgot what life was like back home. And so I suggest, if you get the opportunity every year or two, go back to your home country. You might love it and want to go back and live there. Or you're going to look at it and go, wow, I forgot how good it was over in Thailand or Vietnam or someplace like that. You need that contrast. I get it all the time because members, or even people on YouTube, I'll mention how much something costs. Like in our member site, I mentioned a breakfast. And I said, yeah, it's sort of expensive. And it was like $3.50 US or something, which is expensive for us because we usually don't get Western meals. And then one of our members commented, are you kidding? I was a kid when we used to spend $3.50 on a breakfast at a restaurant. And so contrast is a great thing. And you need that, because what happens is I see the people that are over here, they're still living in Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, that are complaining about all the things they don't like. Yeah, oh, the driving is so horrific. Yeah, it is. But when you first got here, did you notice it and complain? No. You had to do the TM28. You had to report where you lived. And you had to do that every time you moved someplace. Did you complain? No. Now, There's other complications, but they're small. When you think about all the great things that you get, the more life for less money, these little things are minor compared to the major things that made you move in the first place. I hope that makes sense. So it's like, go back and check it out. People are talking about, oh, it's too difficult. Thailand, they don't want us anymore. And boom, not complain. Come to Vietnam. If you've never been living in Southeast Asia, you come to Vietnam, you probably love it. But if you've been in Thailand, living in Thailand, it's a step down. Get the horns, get the dogs, all this stuff, which is issues in Thailand as well, but not the horns. You don't honk the horn in Thailand. But the dogs barking and some smoke and stuff like that are issues. But you forget why you moved here in the first place. And so keep that in mind, that there is no utopia. There's no perfect place for retirement. You know, I see people, oh, I can go to Bangladesh. It's cheaper there. It's just as cheap, and I don't have to do this or that for immigration. Well, good, go to Bangladesh. But don't forget what life was like in your country and why you wanted to move to someplace in the first place. Keep that at forefront. And if you have to go back to remember, do that. But keep in mind, there is no utopia. There's no perfect place. Some people, they think they're going to come to Thailand or Vietnam or someplace and it's going to be just like home. Everything's going to be the same, except it's cheaper. That's not the way it is. Everything in life is a trade-off. You're going to give up something to get something. There's things I don't like about Thailand. There's things I don't like about Vietnam. But they're small compared to having more month left at the end of the money or not being able to be friendly to people. It's Tet New Year over here coming up. And our landlords had a party for Christmas, had a party for New Year's. And we're only here for a short time, and they treat us just like we're family. It's incredible. That doesn't happen back in the West, at least not where I come from. Now, people in the South, talk about Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, northern Florida. There are some states and stuff where, out in the Midwest, where, yeah, you can still be friendly and talk to strangers and stuff like that. But for the most part, in bigger cities, you can't. And even in big cities, and when I mention that, if you go to Hanoi and Saigon and stuff, and Bangkok, you don't talk to strangers that much either. Bigger city, people are more fearful. But there was just an article that was written or put out on CNBC, and they were talking about, I forget what the numbers were. It was put out by, it was research done by the Center for Social and Demographic Research on Aging at the University of Massachusetts. And they said 50% of adults age 65 and older who live alone, and 23% of those that are in dual households that are 65 or older don't have enough money to cover their basic needs. It means they're not going to be able to get by. Now, that's sort of why I started this whole project. But if you think you're just going to come over here and you're going to get a better budget, you will. Your money might go 60% further. But don't just come here because of the money. You got to be willing to give up something to get something. Everything in life is a trade-off. So don't think you're going to come over and it's going to be just like back home but cheaper. It isn't going to work that way. And I don't want you to be disappointed. So no, it's going to be less organized. There's going to be things you're not going to like. Maybe certain times of the year, it's smoky. You have two choices. You can either move, go someplace where it's not smoky, or adapt with an air filtration or a mask or something, because it doesn't last all year long. Those are your choices. But keep in mind why you moved over, and don't let some of those things, if they're big, if you have rules against that and that's big, find a different place to live that doesn't have the smoke. And it can still be Southeast Asia. But no, they have different rules here, and it's a work in progress. They're becoming more aware of things like plastic. A couple years ago, they just threw away plastic. Now in Thailand, it's a big deal. You carry your own bag into grocery stores and stuff. It's evolving. So keep that in mind. That yeah, maybe it's not perfect now, but they're working on it. I remember when I was a kid in America, we used to throw trash out the windows. And then there was a public service announcement, and that all changed. Littering became not socially acceptable. And there's things that are happening in these countries. It's evolving. They're learning, and they're learning as they go. They closed up Maya Bay in Thailand indefinitely to try and let the coral rejuvenate. One thing you're going to find in both places, in Thailand and Vietnam, they're going to be much more disorganized. But there'll be other issues that maybe that you don't like, which is like in Thailand, loud exhausts will be an issue for some people, but they don't horn honk. You come to Vietnam, they horn honk. Burning is sort of acceptable by Asian people in both places. It's just because they don't have trash pickup like the West does, so they put all the stuff together. They don't have the laws against burning. They'll pile up, they'll rake their yard, and they'll have leaves or something, and they'll burn them. They don't think anything about it. Dogs barking. In America, I don't know about Europe and stuff, but in America, if a dog continually barks, you call the police, and animal control will come out and say, look, you either got to get your dog to stop barking, you got to do something about it, you know, or you're going to get ticketed. So this is a work in progress over here. They haven't learned some of these things, but they're learning, and it's evolving. So keep all that in mind. Don't expect to come over and it be just like home, but cheaper. But it is a great feeling to have more money left at the end of the month as opposed to more month left at the end of the money. So that's a positive thing. The party, we went to the Tet New Year party here, and the people, it was just like family, and it was great. They treat us just like family. And so this is a positive thing for me. So I always try and keep it all in balance and perspective. And know that if I'm not feeling good, I need to either change the situation or I need to adapt and change how I perceive or the belief or what I feel about the situation. And so I just wanted to mention that. Some of the things that also are issues in Vietnam, I see them coughing and not covering their mouth. They haven't learned that you spread germs. They just don't know. So that's an issue. But a couple things I want to close with. One is, I did a video about this before. If you had $25,000, you have a couple options. You can spend it and then end up with nothing, or you could invest it. Now, I did a video on YouTube before saying that for me personally, and people want to argue. They can argue all they want. I'm just telling you how I feel about this. If I invest $25,000 into an account, I want a return on an investment. It's an investment. And if I make money on that investment, what do you do with it? You either reinvest it or you save it, put it in a savings account until the savings account keeps growing until it gets to be big, right? Okay. To me personally, to live in Thailand, the 800,000 Thai baht is about $25,000 somewhere, more or less. To me, it's an investment. Why do I see it that way? Because if I was back home, as opposed to spending between $3,000, $4,000 a month just to live, it's costing me 30% of that to live here, or less, depending on where we're at. Now, right now we're in Vietnam. Some things are cheaper, some things are more expensive, but I told Nat the other day, I think we're spending a lot less money here. But, so, what happens with that extra money that I would have spent back home? I always have the $25,000. I always can take it back. It's my money. So it didn't go anywhere. People say, oh, you can't use it. I'm using it every day to save money here. So when I save $2,000 in a month that I didn't spend somewhere else, it's like $2,000 in my pocket. That's the way I look at it. So I invested it and I'm getting a return of that money. Now I have an option. What do I want to do with that extra $2,000? I can invest it. I can save it, put it in a savings account and let it grow. We have a member who's just moved over here. His job came to an end and he decided to retire. He's actually banking money every month He told me, he gave me the numbers. It's incredible how much money he's saving from not being home living in California. And his account, he can roll that over into his investment account and it'll grow exponentially. And so he's saving so much money and not working. It's incredible. So for me, life here is an investment. And that's the way I look at it. Now you can look at it any way you want to. Now, to get that money or save that money every month, what do I have to put up with? Are there things here that I don't like? Sure, but there's things everywhere I don't like. And so it comes along with the territory. I just look for the place that has less of the things I don't like. And what I gain in Thailand, some of those things I don't get in Vietnam. I like Thailand more. There's a few things I like in Vietnam better than Thailand. But to me, I gain so much more from being over here, not just financially, but in all these other areas. So to me, it's a slam dunk. Why would I? And sometimes I haven't been back to the States in a long time, but I'm not sure when I will get back there. But I suggest some people go back and see what it's like back there if they forgot and all they do is sit around and complain. Go back. Spend some time there. Maybe you'll want to move back. Maybe you'll say, oh gosh, it's so organized here. I love it. I'll pay $3,000, $4,000 more a month just to have organization, depending on what's important to you in your life. Make that decision. Make those distinctions and then act on them. But don't think you're going to come to Southeast Asia and it's going to be perfect. To me, it's better for a number of reasons, and financial is one of them. Now, I also want to address, don't pay attention to a lot of the negative comments from some of these people that have forgotten what it's like back home and only complain, because it'll taint, especially if you've never been here, it'll taint the way you feel and your excitement about coming to live over here. Come for yourself and see what it's like. Because there's people that just complain. Now, if people are complaining about Thailand because they forgot all the good things and they don't want to comply and they think, oh, they have the rules that say I don't want to do this and don't want to do that, and they come to Vietnam, I can tell them for sure, if you've lived in Thailand, it's a step down to come to Vietnam. You're giving up a lot of things that are high on my list, might not be on your list. If you've never been to Southeast Asia, and you've never lived outside your country and you come to Vietnam, you'll probably love it. But if you've been to Thailand, you can buy all the products and have all the services and all the stuff, and you're going to say, well, it's a little bit harder to live in Vietnam, you know? Plus the Thai food and everything, there are big differences. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And when I say don't pay attention to all the negativity, the trolls on YouTube, don't pay attention to those people. Ignore them. I just ignore them or delete them, block them. Don't have time for it in my life. It's just amazing to me that there's people that have nothing better to do. It's like driving a car and they pull into a town and they see a bulletin board on the wall, and so they drive to that town to go to the bulletin board, okay? And then they look on the bulletin board and it says Thai language lessons. And they scream, I don't want Thai language lessons. So why did you drive all the way there, go to the bulletin board and read it if you didn't want the Thai lessons? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to live in Thailand. I hate Thailand. Why did you take the time to search out my channel? I didn't make the video for those people. They came and found it. They looked and did the research and the search and YouTube and oh, here's a video about Thailand, and oh, it says about this, and I don't agree with that, but I'm going to watch the video, and then I'm going to comment that I don't like it. It's like somebody goes to a house and knocks on the door, and the person answers, and then the person at the door that knocks says, I don't want to talk to you. It's the same thing. It's like, well, then why did you come and knock on the door? Why did you come watch the channel? So the people that are excited and thinking about life in Thailand or life in Vietnam as a retirement, here, he can hold that. I see it shaking back there from people walking on the deck here. Don't let all the negativity get in the way. Just let it roll off like water on a duck. And stay focused on your dreams. note, though, that it's not going to be perfect, that there'll be some issues and you're going to deal with them. But for me, you grow as a human being when you have to do that. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable is you want life to be other than it is, and you have a couple of choices. But really, it's a learning process and a way to, because if you can be okay with no matter what's going on around you, that's ideal. You know, not let the world affect you. And so if you can get to that point, these are all lessons for you to be able to do that. And like I say, you don't have to every time go, oh, I'm going to meditate and just let it roll off me and stuff. You have choices. That's one option. The other option is to change the situation so you don't have to deal with it. But it's great. You know, to me, it's great. And so we really appreciate it. And we appreciate both places. Thailand's our home. It won't be that long before we'll be headed back there. And but we'll come back periodically to Vietnam for a number of reasons. And hope this has been helpful and informative. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe. Become a member. Links in the description. And until we make our next video. See you. If you have any questions, let us know, right? And remember, there's always options, even in how you perceive life. See you. JC and Nat out. Hey, JC here. If you like that video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel here. Also, we have another video up here you're going to be really interested in watching as well. And if you're looking for all the details of how to retire in Thailand in one place, plus a group of people to support you, check this out over here. Give it a click.